The 1944 Battle of Anzio stemmed from the Allied attempt to draw German troops off the Gustav Line. Although there remained serious doubts among the senior commanders on the ground, Operation Shingle went ahead as planned on January 22, 1944. Three Allied forces made landings. The British 1st Infantry Division was the most northern, with the U.S. 3rd Infantry Division making its landing to the south of Anzio. By the end of the day, the Allies had control of a beachhead 2 or 3 miles wide. They had landings around 36,000 men by this time. Kesselring, upon being told about the Allied landings, immediately sent mobile reaction units to the scene. By January 24th, there were 40,000 men facing the Allied lines in prepared positions.
The Battle of Anzio blistered from January 22, 1944 to June 5, 1944. As the battle raged on, there were many heroes who carved their heroics into the history books. The U.S. Army was commanded by Major General John P. Lucas, Major General Lucien Truscott, Lieutenant General P. Lucas, and General Harold Alexander. The German forces were commanded by Colonel General Eberhard von Mackensen and Field Marshal Albert Kesselring. Both sides took heavy casualties, with the U.S. losing about 7,000 and having 36,000 wounded, while the Germans lost about 5,000 and had 30,500 wounded. The graveyard left behind was staggering, but this did not demoralize the Allies. Though it was a costly battle, many believed it did stall the Germans from advancing.
DUKW 2.5-ton 6x6 amphibious craft transported supplies onto the beach at Anzio. Innovative methods of supply to the beachhead included preloading of trucks in Naples with ammunition and rations for specific units. Anzio Annie, a German railway gun, was used against the Allies. Annie spans more than 100 feet long and weighs 218 tons. Railway guns could be moved rapidly over long distances. Annie could launch 500-pound shells more than 30 miles. Operation Shingle, commanded by Major General John Lucas, was a 2-division amphibious assault that landed 36,000 men and 3,200 vehicles on an area of reclaimed marshland near Anzio and Nettuno. The battle stemmed from the Allied attempt to lure German troops off the Gustav Line during Operation Shingle. These attacks resulted in heavy casualties on both sides. The Allies finally broke out of the beachhead in late May, jump-starting the advance that led to the eventual capture of Rome.
In September 1944, after the victorious end of the Normandy campaign, Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery devised a daring operation to open the way to Ruhr by seizing a bridgehead north of Rhine at Arnhem. On September 17th, Operation Market, the largest airborne and glider operation in history, included 5,000 aircraft carried out by 3 Allied airborne divisions. Operation Garden was the groundside in which the 13th British Corps was to link up with the British 1st Airborne at Arnhem by thrusting north along a narrow corridor opened by the U.S. 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions. Then, the remainder of the British Second Army would rapidly assault Ruhr, thus hastening the collapse of the Third Reich and likely ending the war in 1944.
The Battle of Arnhem shot its way through the month of September, only lasting 9 days. It started September 17, 1944, until it was ended on the 26th. John Frost and Ron Urquhart, British Army officers, were extremely well known for their leadership in Arnhem. While the opposing German regiment was controlled by Walter Model and Wilhelm Beitsch, both sides showed extreme courage, for their leaders paved the way for them. Many called this battle horrendous, but the ones who died truly made their mark. Over the course of the battle, the Allied army took over 18,000 deaths and casualties. The Third Reich took about 13,000 casualties in this terrible battle. This graveyard of man tells a story that we may not be able to imagine. The cruelty and bravery will forever be locked in a bridge too far.
A daring operation devised by Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery opened the way to the Ruhr by seizing a bridgehead north of the Rhine at Arnhem. Operation Market, the largest airborne and glider operation in history, was carried out by 3 Allied airborne divisions. The ground side, in which the 30th British Corps was to link up with the British 1st Airborne at Arnhem by thrusting north along a narrow corridor opened by the U.S. 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions, was known as Operation Garden. The battle was supposed to hasten the collapse of the Third Reich and likely end the war. Of the 10,000 men who had landed at Arnhem, 1,400 were killed and over 6,000 captured. Only 2,400 paratroopers safely crossed to the south bank of the Rhine in small rubber boats. Market Garden was a military disaster during which the ground force was unable to breach the river wall at Nijmegen in time to establish a bridgehead north of the Rhine in what became popularly known as a bridge too far.